Okay, so in this question, an object is projected vertically upwards with speed u, as I've got here, from a point A, which is 2.8 meters above the ground. Okay, so it's on top of something, right? And the ground is down here. Okay, and A is 2.8 meters above that ground, and it's projected upwards with speed u. So I'm taking upwards as positive. And of course, acceleration then due to gravity is acting downwards, so A is going to be minus 9.8 because it's opposing my positive direction. And it reaches its greatest height, it says, of 18.225 meters above A before falling to the ground. So it gets to its greatest height there of 18.225. So it basically goes upwards and then it slows down to a stop and then it falls again, okay, to the ground this time. So it falls down all the way down to here. So it says then, show that the value of u is 18.9. So we know A is minus 9.8. We know that, what else do we know? Nothing. We know that u is u, okay? But we also know that S, okay, is 18.825. The displacement from A is going to be 18.8225 when it reaches its max height. And of course, at max height, it comes to a stop, doesn't it? At max height, we say V is equal to 0, okay? When, of course, then S is equal to 18.225. So we've got enough information there to work out u. So I'm going to use using v squared equals u squared plus 2as. So v squared is going to be 0 squared, which is 0. U squared, we don't know. 2 times then a, which is minus 9.8, and then s is 18.225. So we take all this over the other side, okay, we can work it out as well. So if I just work that out first, actually it'll be a minus, won't it? Because you've got 2 times negative 9.8 times 18.225, and we get out 357, negative 357.21. Take it over, so u squared will equal that, and then all we've got to do is square root this, and hopefully we'll get what they're asking for, indeed 18.9, okay, meters per second. Okay, that's what u is. Then part B, it says find the time between the object being projected and the object hitting the ground. Okay, so with part B, of course, we know now u is 18.9, so we know that, right? We can use that. We know A is minus 9.8. We want to find out the time, don't we? Between the object being projected and it hitting the ground. Now when it hits the ground, it'll be here. We need to remember that at A, S is equal to 0, displacement equal to 0. Upwards is positive displacement, but then when it starts to fall, okay, past its starting position, we'll have negative displacement. So when it hits the ground, S will be minus 2.8. Okay, so we can work out time using S equals ut plus half at squared, okay? So then, if we put in our numbers, minus 2.8 for S, u is 18.9, and then we've got plus half at squared, so plus half minus 9.8 t squared. So if I simplify that and get everything on the one side, I'm going to put a t there and I missed out a t, get everything onto the left hand side, okay, then I will get my quadratic in the format I like, okay, so we take it over, 4.9 t squared, take away the 18.9 over, so that'll be minus 18.9 t, and then minus 2.8 equals 0. So I've got that. Now we might be thinking about using a formula for this. Sometimes it's useful to see if we can find something that divides into it. So, you know, if I times by 10, for instance, let's have a look. I get 49t squared minus 189t minus 28 equals 0. Just to get rid of the decimal points. Now also then I could look at this and think, well, 49, 28, 7 goes into these, doesn't it? 7 goes into these. Does 7 go into 189? It does. So I'll end up having, if I divide through by 7 now, that becomes 7t squared. Divide that by 7, I get 27t. And divide that by 7, I get 4. So you might be able to you might be able to actually factorize this rather than using the formula method. Okay, let's see if I can do it. If not, we use the formula method. If you're not sure, you just use the formula method. So 7t, and I'm going to put t there, because that will make 7t squared when I multiply it out. Two numbers that multiply to give 4. So if I put 4 and 1, yeah, and then 7t squared. Now if I do 7t times 4, that will be 28t. Yeah, this is going to work, isn't it? 7t times 4. So if I put minus there, 7t times minus 4 is be minus 28t. If I put a plus there, and a plus t then, which will give you minus 27t in total. And then, of course, you've got your minus 4 there, so it works. All right. So we say then 7t plus 1 equals 0, or t minus 4 equals 0, which means then 7t equals minus 1 over 7, or t will equal 4. Okay. Now, sorry, I marked this up here. I'm not thinking straight. 7t is equal to minus 1, isn't it? Take the 1 over, which means then t is minus 1 over 7. So now you've got your 2 times, but of course you can't have negative time. That's impossible. Okay. Which means then t equals 4 seconds is how long it will take for it to hit the ground.